All right, welcome everyone. This is your essential fantasy football playbook for the Champions League quarterfinals. We are down to the final 8, which means every single transfer, every captaincy choice, it could be the move that wins you your mini league. So let's make sure you're making the right calls. So what's our game plan? Here's what we're going to cover. We'll start by looking at the unique challenge of these quarterfinals. Then we'll lay out a winning strategy, pinpoint the key teams to target, and then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of actually building your squad and picking that all-important captain. First up, let's talk about the challenge itself. With only 8 of Europe's elite left, the margin for error is, it's basically 0. This is where smart, forward-thinking fantasy managers really separate themselves from the rest of the pack. And wow, just take a look at these fixtures. We have got some absolute monster clashes here, right? I mean, Real Madrid versus Bayern Munich, that's a classic. From a fantasy perspective, this is a total minefield. Do you bet on goals in these heavyweight fights, or do you play it a little safer and target the clearer favorites? Which leads us right into our winning strategy. Look, succeeding in the knockout rounds isn't just about picking the biggest names. It's about being a savvy tournament manager. Okay, you're going to want to listen closely because these 3 principles are absolutely non-negotiable. First up, you have to think ahead. Seriously, which teams do you think are actually going to make it to the semis? Start loading up on their players now so you can save those precious transfers down the line. Second, you get 5 free transfers. Use every single one. They don't roll over, so leaving any on the table is just a classic rookie mistake. And third, your bench must be packed with players who are guaranteed to start. Manual substitutions are your secret weapon from here on out. And here is maybe the most important pro tip of all. The lineups are confirmed before the deadline. I mean, this is a massive advantage. There is absolutely no reason, no excuse to have a player in your starting 11 who isn't actually starting the match. Wait for that team news to drop, then lock in your squad. All right, so which teams should we be pouring our fantasy cash into? Let's take the guesswork out of it and see what the data is telling us about these first leg matchups. The data is pretty much screaming PSG at home. The supercomputer gives them over a 53% chance of winning, and frankly, that makes a ton of sense. Liverpool have looked pretty shaky at the back lately. Remember, they just shipped 4 goals to Man City. That makes PSG's attack a very, very tempting target for us. As you can see right here, Barcelona are the biggest favorites of the week. The data gives them almost a 60% chance to win. And when you factor in their insane 25-game unbeaten streak at home against Atletico, loading up on Barca players doesn't feel like a gamble, does it? It feels almost essential. Now, don't get me wrong, Sporting's home record is seriously impressive. They've won all 5 of their Champions League games in Lisbon this season. But even with that, Arsenal are still the heavy favorites to take a lead back to London. A lot of people see the Gunners as one of the top contenders to win the whole thing. Okay, so with our target teams locked in, it's time to build the squad. The winning formula here is about balance. You need a mix of those popular, high-ownership players you just can't afford to ignore, and a few clever differentials. You know, those sneaky, low-owned players that most people in your league probably haven't even thought about. So the big dilemma up front is what to do about Harry Kane. The guy is an absolute goal machine, we all know that, but he is carrying an injury knock. Do you take the risk? Or do you pivot to a budget-friendly and super informed differential like Luis Suarez, who just has a knack for showing up in these big home games? In the midfield, Lamine Yamal is on an absolute tear. He's a popular pick, and for good reason. But if you're looking for that game-winning differential, think about this. Ademola Lookman. He's already scored against Barcelona this season, and you just know his pace on the counterattack could be the perfect weapon to hurt them again. Okay, I want you to lean in for this one because we need to talk about a crucial and honestly an often overlooked way to score points. In these tight knockout games, goals can be hard to come by, but you know what isn't? Defensive actions. And that's where ball recoveries become a fantasy goldmine. For every 3 balls a player recovers, you get 1 point. A hardworking midfielder can easily get you 3 or 4 extra points this way. That's the equivalent of an assist. So whatever you do not sleep on these guys. A player like Vitinha isn't just a creative force. His defensive work rate provides this steady, reliable stream of points. I'm telling you, a midfielder who snags you 3 points from just recoveries can easily outscore some big-name forward who has a quiet night. That's how you win these tight match days. Now, for the defense. Nuno Mendes is the safe, popular choice for PSG, and that makes sense. But if you're chasing points, you could roll the dice on a huge upside differential like Trent Alexander-Arnold. Even in a tough game, His role on set pieces gives him an attacking ceiling that almost no other defender in the game can match. And this is super important for your long-term planning. You have got to be aware of who's walking the disciplinary tightrope. A lot of key players, we're talking Mbappe, Vinicius, Yamal, are all just one yellow card away from missing that crucial second leg. Definitely keep that in mind when you're planning your transfers for next week. All right, now for the big one, the decision that can literally make or break your entire week, the captain's armband. The good news is, with games on Tuesday and Wednesday, you get a second bite at the apple if your first pick doesn't come through. So here's how you should play it. On Tuesday, your top choices have to be Kylian Mbappe at home or Harry Kane, assuming he's fit to start. Now, if they don't deliver, don't panic. You've got fantastic backup options on Wednesday, especially with Barcelona's Lamine Yamal playing at home. Here's a really simple but effective rule of thumb to live by. With fewer matches, the chances for those massive 20-point hauls go down. So, if your Tuesday captain gets you a solid return, say 5 points or more, don't get greedy. Bank the 10 points and don't risk switching to a Wednesday player who might get you a one-pointer. All right, let's bring it all home. This is your final action plan, your last-minute checklist to run through before that deadline locks. Okay, let's run through it one last time. Number 1, use all 5 of your transfers. Number 2, wait for those confirmed lineups. 3, heavily target the big home favorites, PSG and Barcelona. 4, squeeze in one of those ball recovery specialists. And 5, have a captaincy plan ready for both Tuesday and Wednesday. So that's your playbook for the quarterfinals. The template is there for everyone to see, but the big ranks boosts, the big wins, they're going to come from those brave differential picks. Now it's over to you to make those crucial calls. Good luck, and may your arrows be green.